Hello and welcome to a special episode of the Primo Calcio Cast. We're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into Juventus, some player ratings for the midseason, coach ratings, sporting director ratings, and look at where they've gone wrong and where they can go from here. I am Michael here with Anthony again. How you doing, Anthony?
Hey, oh, I'm great. I'm looking forward to this. Been a long time coming.
That's right. For those who don't know, Anthony is a long-term Juve fan. We've been watching for around 20 years and has seen a bunch of ups and downs with the team. So let's start with player ratings. Let's get right into it. Mattia Perin, what do you think?
I'm gonna give him a 6. I want to give him a 7, but he just has not played enough games. He hasn't had enough opportunities to screw up, but every time he's been in, he's been excellent. I prefer him to Di Gregorio. Personally, he's experienced and he's sure-handed, but yeah, he hasn't played enough games to really get a 7. And just so you know, like on our ratings, I have no problem. I will give people under a 5. I don't understand the 1 through 10 system when no one ever gets a score under below a 5. So there will be ones and twos in here, and that's because that's
I
there's a
feel the
1 to
same
10
way.
scale.
I feel like if you're getting a 6 or a 5, you're right in the middle. You're on the upper half of that. If you're a 6, you were good. You were average but good. If you're a 5, you were average but a little bit below that. And those are kind of the baselines. Everything below and above, it is what it is. I do agree with Brand as a 6. I think he's one of the more talented backups because he can start at any time. But yeah, he has not enough game time. I think we're both in alignment. 6. Let's go with Di Gregorio.
I'm giving Di Gregorio a 5, and yeah, he has had more game time than Perini. He has had more time to screw up. He has made some good plays. He has made a lot of bonehead plays. He is not the sure-handed keeper that I would really want. And he was brought in at a good deal, so I have no complaints in that sense. But for me, this season's performance, he's been a 5.
Yeah, I do think that he has not been too great, especially after that Super Copa performance against Milan. Was
That
basically
was a
responsible
disaster.
for. I know Locatelli made the penalty, but it was not a good penalty from Pulisic, and he messed that one up, and his positioning was bad. But that's not just it. He has not been amazing. He is a good keeper. The deal was fine. I would lean more towards the middle, like a 5.5. I think he's close to there. So, um, if we got to give a rating.
We can give him a 5.5. I don't think he's been. I mean, I have a high standard for keepers. There's 3 positions that I'm really harsh on: goalkeeper, center back, and defensive midfielders. I think those 3 positions are like a lost art.
Especially D-Mid, which
Oh,
yeah, it's
yeah.
something that
Well,
a lot
yeah,
of teams lack a really quality class D-Mid, but no, I
definitely.
agree with these so far. Let's go next to Gleison Bremer. Of course, this will be pre-injury since we can't give a rating
Yeah.
post-injury. So where do you think Bremer was at this
I mean,
season?
he was at a 7 for me. I think he didn't obviously didn't play many games, but the games he played, he was good. I don't think he's the world's greatest center back, but he is incredibly athletic. He's a very talented player. But no, yeah, he's a 7 for me. He'll probably always be around a 7 or an
I
8,
would agree.
which is great.
I think for when he was in, I think he might have even been pushing about a 7.5. I think Malta helped a little bit, probably with the overall team organization and kind of limiting his mistakes,
Yes.
which helped a lot. And so that was the best I've seen him play when he was in and doing well. I thought that the best two pure center backs in the league for that section were um, Buongiorno and Bremer, and I thought that they were ahead of a lot of people by a pretty significant way. So I thought he was kind of edging on a 7.5, but since these are your guys, we will go with your rating over mine if we're in the middle here.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Well, like with Di Gregorio, I'll go with a 5.5. With Bremer, I'm gonna stick hard on
Stick
the
with the
7.
7.
Yeah, I don't think he's. Yeah.
You got it. All
We'll
right.
see. But
Next is Gatti.
Gatti for me has been a 6, and I think that's. So I think Gatti is a squad player. I'm very glad he's on the team. I think he's had a great season. He played well last year, but I think we're very fortunate that he has stepped up. Has he made mistakes? Of course. I expect him to. He's Gatti, but he has played. He's definitely been our best center back since Bremer's gone down. He's kept us in a ton of games. He had an awesome performance against Man Shitty. Um, I think he's done a great job. I think he's had a great season. It's probably his best season. I'm
I
going to give him a
think
6.
for Gatti, yes, I would give him a 6 because he's the type of player who will play 60 minutes of a match at like a 7 or 7.5 or even an 8 sometimes because you're wow, he's actually doing great. And then he'll make an awful play and it'll be like a 2. But I mean,
Exactly.
that's the type of player he is. And then he'll play the rest of the game just fine. or he'll score a
Yep.
goal or something. That's Gotti. I think overall, bang average in the middle, but good average. So 6 as well for Gotti.
I think
Next,
he's
oh, go ahead.
incredibly underrated, but that doesn't mean that I think he's a great defender. He's just very underrated and very disrespected by fans. He's he's better than most people think, but he's still just Scotty.
No,
So
he's a good solid player. As we like
yeah,
to say, Yaki is doing a good job for what he is. He's definitely serviceable. He can start for sure.
yeah.
If Juve was building a dynasty, Gatti should definitely be a sub who can come in and start when needed. He should not be a starter, but it's what they got, and he's
I
answered
mean,
the call for the most part.
truly, I don't think he's any worse than like a guy like Rachmani. I think if you have, he could be on a squad where they win the Scudetto and he's starting next to a guy like Bremer or a more organized, composed guy like a Buongiorno. But
He was
uh,
quite good on under with Bremer for the beginning of the season. They were definitely
yeah,
making a really good pair. Juve barely did any goals. It's just when you have Kalulu and Gatti together, who are and Bremer can be
yes,
error prone, but he's not that bad. I mean, like, he's not incredibly error
no,
prone. Kalulu and Gatti both are error prone. You, those two together are not amazing. That's for sure.
yeah. I mean, well, let's segue. Isn't Kalulu next on the list here?
Yeah, Kalulu's next on the list.
Yeah, I mean, so let's segue into it. I mean, Kalulu's a right back in my opinion, or like a third center back in a three-man back line. He's had
That's
to
where I'd
step
like
up
to
and
see him.
play
Yeah.
center back, and he is, to me, I mean, he has had a responsibility in about 75% of the goals conceded. He's a very poor defender, but he's had his moments. He's had some good games. He's had some good forward runs. And you know what? He's done a decent job for playing out of position and also not having really a center back next to him that's a leader. Like so you kind of got two mistake prone guys, but Kalu's been pretty tragic in a defensive sense. But because he's playing out of position, because I'm gonna give him a 5. I want to give him a 4. I'm gonna give him a 5. He's done some good stuff going forward
I
though.
would definitely agree with a 5. I think he kind of stepped in last minute. He had to play. I mean, yes, he can play center back. He did really well with Tamori for a good half plus season with Milan, and during their Scudetto season, he can do it. But he has never really regained that form that he had. And I think it was more like because when he was newer on, he had a little bit more of a, I guess, humble attitude because he was new in the team. But once you win something, you never know. It seemed like he kind of branched out and maybe thought he knew a little bit too much. I agree. I think he's
Well,
ideally a right center back. I don't think he's a great pure center back, and he's not been as good as Gatti has been. Um, he has
well, and
flashes.
he on Milan, he also had an amazing midfield in front of him, which helps
Yeah, the
as
Scudetto
well.
season, Tonali, Cassier, Benacer, that's way better than anything
That's
that Juve
pretty
is
awesome
offering right
midfield.
now. So
Yeah.
he's much more exposed on this team. So I mean, yeah, given that too, on top of what we just talked about, I would definitely give him a 5.
And you could see like when that the term exposed is correct because when we ran Coop Miners as a D mid next to Locatelli, I mean he had a horrible game, and that because he was totally he didn't have
Yeah,
any
when
sort
you
of
put
filter in
Thuram next
front
to
of him.
Locatelli, it's a little better. Sure.
Yeah, we have to cover our defense up, and Moda's been doing that since day one, even when he had Bremer. It makes a big difference. Obviously, that's just common sense.
Next, you go with Danilo.
Oof. So Danilo, and this is something I'm going to rag on Mota about, but Danilo is not a center back in a four-man back line. And we tried him there. I don't know how many games in a row, and it was just such a nightmare. I've never been a fan of Danilo. I never thought he was very good. Um, three-man defense, you can hide players like that.
Yeah,
But
I
man, when
think that
he
he'd be
played
much
center
better
back,
in a 3-man.
poof. But he also played the best I've ever seen him play his entire time at Juventus when they did move him to that left back role.
He
He
played
was
more
outstanding.
like an old school defensive side back,
Yeah,
which is
he's
fine. And I thought he played really well. He was covering up a lot of errors. He definitely acted more like a good team leader too on the back line. I definitely see he has a good personality for sure. So
he
how do you want to
stepped
rate
up and
this one,
played
man? It's
great.
freaking hard because
This is incredibly tough because
yeah,
it's like almost like a Jekyll and Hyde scenario. When he's a center back, he was tragic. When he was a side back, he was one of our better players,
it's
and
just
he
Juve in
stepped up when it
general.
mattered the
They are
most.
Jekyll and
He
Hyde,
really is. Yeah, no doubt.
right?
I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna give him a 4, man. I really am. I mean, I can't forgive those center back performances. They were so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And a side back's a side back. It's, in my opinion, one of the least important positions, and he only played a couple good games. I think he's getting hard done by them releasing him from his contract. I don't understand why they're doing that. We'll get into that, I'm sure, in a bit, but he certainly doesn't deserve that treatment. He's been a good soldier for us, and they should let him live out his contract. But the disrespect is
Yeah,
permanent.
it's I don't know. I mean, could go 4, could go 5, could go 4.5.
You
I
go
think he's
4.5.
kind of where I think he sits. He sits a little
Yeah.
bit below Kalulu.
Yeah, if it was just his side back performances, we might be even talk about
Right. Yeah, it might be
5.5,
like a
6.
like a
But
6. Yeah.
those,
Center
I'm
back.
never
No.
gonna. Yeah, I mean, dude, he stunk it up big time. I mean, it was a disaster.
Next, we move to Cambiazo.
Ooh, here's another Jekyll and Hyde situation: pre-injury, post-injury. He's been pretty tragic since he's been back.
Yeah, post injury
But
hasn't been good, but I mean, you got to give him
yeah,
some time to come back. That's for sure. Pre injury
yeah,
though, I think he's quite a quality player, and my pick if he gets back to his old self for the right wing back on the Nazionale when DiMarco plays left wing back. I think those are our best two guys if obviously they're healthy and fit for those wings. What do you
well,
think
you
of his
mentioned his
performance so far?
Well, you mentioned his correct position. His correct position is a right wing back. I'm not sure if he's a better side back or a better actual side midfielder, but I would say before injury, I would have given him a 7. Post injury, I'd give him a 5. So right now, I'm going to give him a 6 because that's right in between those two, uh, and that's the logic behind the 6.
I agree. I think I will push for a 6, maybe 6.5 because he played a lot more games pre-injury. But there were some really rough recent performances that have dropped some big points for U of A.
Yeah,
And so I have to give him a 6 because the games are starting to matter a lot, and been some serious points dropped. So I'll go 6, although I really want to do a 6.5 because his quality before, I do agree, was actually closer to a 7.
I think we're being pretty harsh on him, and I certainly am because when he came back from injury and the matches he came on as subs late in the game, he's just trying to do too much. He's trying to be a hero, and I actually don't mind that mentality at all, especially out of well, he's 25. He's not super young, but he's still a young player. I mean, I think I like to see that out of
Yeah,
him.
it is weird with him, like, for some reason, just probably because he hasn't been there too long. We always think he's more like 21, 22, but he's not. Kind of crazy.
No, he should be pretty much where he's going to be right now. I mean, he needs
Yeah,
to get out of these injuries.
yeah, I know.
I wish we
Next,
played him in the correct position, but
oh
whatever.
god, if you, I mean, I know Moto's got his style, and we can
It'll
get
never
into some of
happen.
this later. But I mean, if they just with what we've talked about on the D alone, if they went more with like a 3-man back line, it would have benefited the guys they brought in, like Kalulu better. Danilo would have been playing better. Cambiaso, of
Cabal,
course. I mean, yeah,
McKenny.
it would have been better, but I mean, Mota's got a style. Next we move to an actual youngster, Savona.
Savona. Oh, okay. So I'm actually it's hard to not factor in his age and how he stepped up to the
Mm-hmm.
plate. And I hate to give another 6 because it's such a cop out score,
It
but I'm
is.
gonna have to give him a cop out score because he's performed like a 7 for most of the season just because he's young. But
Who's been
you know,
better, Cambiaso or Savona?
Cambiaso,
I agree. I
absolutely.
think Cambiaso gets a
But
6.5, and I think Savona gets a 6.
when I
I
would
think we
say,
got to modify.
Savona definitely shut down Kvaratskhelia. He did
Yeah,
great
but so
against
does so
Leao.
did everybody shut down Kvaratskhelia this year. Kvaratskhelia has been
Exactly. Well,
really
everyone's
off.
been shutting him down for 2 years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's he's easy to shut down. He's predictable.
Yep.
But Savona did great against Man City. I mean, whenever he's going up against a high-profile winger, he does great. He just isn't a great. He isn't great going forward. That being said, he's got 2 goals. So go
Yep.
figure.
I don't know. I think I would go more with him as a 6, and I actually think we should modify Cambiaso to a 6.5. If because then they're both the same. I don't think they got the same rating. Or do you think
I
they
mean, he
deserve the
does have
same
more.
rating?
No. Savona's got more goals. He's been better defensively.
Who's better with
Cambiaso.
the eye test, watching the games? I mean, prior to
Oh,
like the past
Cambiaso
three
is a much
games.
better player.
Right. And I think that he actually has
But
been good this whole season besides the past 3-4 games.
it's hard to erase it though.
No,
Yeah, but
I
yeah.
know. I think that's just recently
Uh,
biased. I would like to modify it. It's up to you though.
Cambiaso's 25. I think he should be doing better. I don't think
You get
he's
the final
playing.
call.
I no, look at both 6s, man. I
All
don't
right.
know. I,
Got
I,
it.
I Savona's overachieved. Cambiaso to me is underachieved.
6 it is. All right. Cabal.
Cabal, I'll give a 5. I'm not too impressed with Cabal. I heard a bunch of things when he came in. I didn't know too much about him, but he's an awesome defender. terrible defender. But he is good going forward. He has a good cross. He
Seems
was
to
good in the
be a
Lazio
repeat theme
game.
of all Juve's side backs besides Danilo.
Yeah,
They're good
yeah,
going forward. Why are we not playing with some wing backs? But either way,
yeah. Cabal's a wingback all the way. Yeah, definitely. He's not a
I agree with
center
the five
back.
though. He
Yeah,
hasn't been too great.
he put in some pretty tragic defensive performances. He's always a liability defensively.
Next is Ruhi.
Oof, 4, maybe even a 3. Yeah, I give him a 3. You know what? He was pretty bad, and it sucks because he's a young kid and he was called up probably too soon. But he's 21. I mean, you're either good or you're not, and he's just not. He's not one of the next gen guys that was
How many games has he actually played?
he played a few more in the beginning of the season than he has lately. He's definitely been pretty toast now. I think his last the last straw was a few games ago. He was just poor. I think he's played about 4 or 5 games total, but he was pretty bad. I'd give him a 3. He's just not good enough.
Oh, that's
He
Ruhi
doesn't
going.
he doesn't cut it. He's gonna go to a. I think he should go to a smaller league. Yeah.
Going 3, hitting him hard. Next is Locatelli.
Locatelli has been an 8. I think that you're not going to get much better Locatelli than you're getting right now. I don't.
You would
So
say Locatelli
he's been our
during
best
everything
player.
has been a full point better than Bremer when Bremer was on.
Yeah, Locatelli's been our best player over the course of the season. I mean, Bremer only played for like 5 games. I mean, and it was the beginning of the season. We caught a lot of teams. Early on we were motivated and ready. I think Locatelli's been incredibly solid. He's been a rock for us. I'm not the world's biggest Locatelli fan by any means, but I've never seen him play better than he has this season. And it's in a position that's incredibly needed. I think that he has had more box clearances and blocks than any of our center backs.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean,
yeah,
I agree that he should be probably the highest rated. I think he's been a very much so a steady Eddie. He's been consistent. He's always been solid for them. I would have gone more towards a 7 here for Locatelli because he does always give you a couple errors. He does. I mean,
absolutely.
eight to me is quite stellar. 8 is like, man, this guy's having a stellar season. I think he's more towards a 7. I could kind of see a sneaky 7.5 hitting in there, but I would go 7 on Locatelli. You
Well,
would go
here's my argument
8.
with
What do
Locatelli.
you
I
want? What do you
think
want to do
he
here?
is. I don't think he's ever going to play better than he's playing right now. I think this is the best he can do,
Yeah, but
and I
does
think it's
that
good
warrant an 8 just
for
because we know his limitations? I don't know. I think this is a comparative of his
him.
overall
Yeah,
quality.
for
Yeah,
him, I think that is it a case by case basis, a subjective scale, or is it?
exactly. See, no, I think that's just like how are you doing this season?
Yeah, okay,
Like,
you're right.
let's go 7.5. Let's go middle.
He's been our best player. I mean, he truly has been throughout the course of the season. If through performances and mistakes taken into account, he's been our most solid player, most reliable, consistent, solid
I would
player.
agree. You want
When he's not on the field, we're much
you
worse.
want to go here and then we could bump him to an 8 after we finish the team.
Let's go 7.5. Yeah, let's go 7.5.
All
I mean,
right.
we have a bad team, so I mean,
Yeah.
there are not going to be too many
Yeah,
eights
there's not
here.
gonna be eights, nines, and
Yeah,
imperfections here.
yeah.
Next is Turam. I think he's actually having a pretty good season.
Brown's been having a solid season. I'll give him a 6. He started out pretty poorly, and he's been looking better and better. I think he is definitely overrated in his performances, but being big and strong is a huge bonus, especially on our team when we need to shepherd really and shield our defense. Absolutely, our best defensive setup is Locatelli Thuram.
Yeah.
I think there were better looks that we had earlier in the season that we're just not going into for some reason. But I think that Thuram is definitely a good player for us, and he's only going to get better. I think he's never going to be a world class player, but he's always going to be really good.
Yeah, I think Turam when he started the season was more like about a 5, and then his last several performances he was probably creeping in on. He'd have a great performance, which should have been like a 7, then a few 6s, a few 6.5s. So I would say he's hovering somewhere between a 6 and 6.5. So I think we go 6 here.
6, yeah,
Yep.
he's a 6.
Next is Weston McKennie.
Weston McKennie has been he's a 7 for me. He's probably played every single position on the pitch. He is one of our fiercest competitors, always ready to come up to play the damn game. I mean, he's been awesome, man.
Actually,
He's
totally
only
agree. I think it's easy to say, oh, well, he's not amazing at anything. Well, he does everything. He does everything well. He gives a lot of effort. He's been a player who I've come around to more this season than most, and said, what, I would agree with the 7. I was going to say 6.5, but I would agree with the 7.
seven, dude. He comes to play every freaking week. That guy's going to give you a good
No
performance,
matter
and it
where
doesn't
you
matter
play
what
him, too.
position.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
and it takes a smart player, a smart
yeah.
person to be like, all right, I can play this position well. And I mean, he can do everything from breakup play and tackle to like deliver a very, very soft, like accurate pass. So it's pretty cool.
And surprisingly, he's one of our most technical players. He's one of our most technically adept players that's on the field.
Let's go with Fagioli. The somehow came from very promising talent to now maligned, and they want to sell him. Kind
Absolutely.
of weird.
This is the this I you might have to control me from a rant here. I really like Fagioli. Allegri used him a couple years ago beautifully as a box to box tackles, scores. He looked incredible.
Yeah, I
Then
think
the
that's where he
whole
belongs to, personally.
yeah that no I well I would have said the same thing. Um, then he did the whole gambling thing. He only played 2 matches last year. Set out an entire year when he was what 20 years old, 21 years
He
old.
he
His
was the
last
rat though. He was the rat.
yeah he's a rat. He came in
And
he
he
came in
he
2 years
did he
ago.
did snitch. So
Well, they got caught and yeah, and then he snitched. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but he is a
I
good
mean,
player. I think he's very promising.
I am not. You're
He's a
not
good
going to
player.
hear me. I'm not going to go off on Gen Z because that's a whole other
Yeah.
tangent. Okay, I'm not going to
No,
credit
we can
other
curtail
people.
that, and
These guys
that's
are
not
all
for a cast.
turds. Okay,
But
I have zero respect. Okay, so anyways, Fagioli as a footballer. Okay, Fagioli's footballer has his last 2 games last season were excellent. He played pretty damn well for the national team. When he came on, he did for a guy who played 2 games, he shouldn't even have been there, but he did well for a 21-year-old that had played 2 games in a year. I really don't know what that was all about. Surely, and then he started the season great. I would say he was our best midfielder. When we have him on the field, we have a tempo, we have a pace, and this is why I say I actually really liked him at Regista, even though I only got to see him in a couple games last year. The couple games last year that he was playing there, he
he
controlled
did
the game.
well.
He
Yeah.
was excellent. If you want to see his probably his best game was the Red Bull game, Red Bull Leipzig. That was the game we went down to 10 men and we came back and won, got 2 goals to win. I mean, right from the get-go, he was amazing the whole game. And he was like that for most of the season. Whenever he was in, our team was entirely different. Our possession looked different. Our possession, the offensive zone looked a lot different. And if you really go back and watch those games, and you can get them all on Paramount Plus, if you want to see the impact that a proper regista makes, you can watch those early Fagioli games when he's on there. Our biggest struggle, and we'll get into these, I think, a little bit more when we talk about the tactics, is in the final third and the possession. Possession's great and everything, but if you don't have anybody that can make a key pass, a killer, line breaking pass, a clever chip, it's all for nothing. And he was the one guy on our team that could really do it, especially from that position. So I would say I don't know why he played one bad game and got benched ever since. There was no intention for him to ever be here.
Well,
We had
he's. I mean, this is something that we should halt there for now because this is
well,
a
it goes into his
huge
rating though.
theory. It does,
Yeah.
but I mean, he can't control that.
No. I give him a 6. I think he was really good. He was our best midfielder until he played one bad game and then never played again.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah,
I would have said honestly he was kind of bordering on a 6.5. I think a 6 is
yeah,
fair. So we'll go there, but he's definitely bordering on a
yeah.
6.5.
And he surprised me with his presence as a regista, which I always say there's no registas
I
anymore.
think he's gonna do
Was
well wherever he goes. To be honest with you, I
yeah.
think he's
I
gonna
hope
be one who like in like a year is gonna actually be quite good. So it's
I
gonna be a
agree.
loss for Juve.
He's
We
super skilled.
move on to a couple of the signings, so 2 in a row here.
Oh boy.
Douglas Luiz.
Okay, I won't rant on these. Okay, Douglas Luiz. So this is a guy Moji had completely guessed correct. He's just too slow. He's just too slow.
Yeah, he seems to have decent technical ability, but I mean, you also need him to break up plays and to be a true D mid. I just don't know. He has not been good almost at all.
Well, his first few match, I mean, he got what? He had 2 red cards and a
Yeah,
fucking a penalty kick, and I mean, he said he came in against
been a
Lazio and did
huge
nothing
bust
all
so far.
game.
So
Yeah, he's a massive bust. The thing with Douglas Luiz is he obviously has technical ability. He's Brazilian. He's got some flair. He's got technical ability. He's a very lazy player. And someone said it best, I think, on X. He said he looks like Pirlo with cement shoes. And it really made sense because he's super slow. His passes are slow. He kind of gets like in the right spots sometimes, but he doesn't like really work for it. He can make tackles when the guy's right in front of him, but he's not going to go chase him down. He's just he's a talented player. He's just not
yeah, there is
good
definitely
enough.
some talent there. Obviously, Juve drastically overpaid for the guy, but there's definitely some talent there. But I mean,
He never should have
he's been a
been brought to
hindrance
Juve.
the whole time he's been there. So, um,
Yeah, he's.
what
I
do you got
give
to
him a
give him?
3. I give him a 3.
Totally agree. All right, Coop.
Oh, I mean, this guy's been the biggest disappointment of all.
I
I mean,
agree.
61 million. So I remember talking
He's
before, and you were
been the
like, "Hey, man,
worst signing, and he
and,
had an amazing season on Atalanta.
yeah, you were saying that. Oh, he's a good player. I'm like, I've seen Atalanta games. I didn't think he was that good. I really liked Ederson, but I'm also blind. I really like a good, high
Oh,
octane
you can't compare
midfielder.
him to Ederson. Ederson's a way
No, no,
different
I'm just
player.
saying,
He's a
like when I
way
was
better
watching
player.
Atalanta, I didn't think he
Yeah.
was even the best player on that team.
Ederson
Um,
never
I
has a bad game, man. That
I
guy's a
said it when we
rock,
signed
dude.
him. I said he's slow and gumpy. I don't like it. Moji said he has a weak character for the way he handled certain situations last year. Not a focal point,
Yeah,
and
he's looked
he's
so bad this season. I
he's
mean,
dead on.
no matter where you put him, they try to put him like a couple different places, but like a false nine, which I think is an awful spot for him. Attacking mid, center mid, it's nothing's been good.
It's a weird thing, and I've never seen a player get coddled more. He's been poor in every position, and the argument was always that he was out of position, right? Okay, so first of all, he's an attacking midfielder, and we hired him to play attacking midfielder, and he was so bad at it that his supporters were like, "Well, he's out of position. He's really an 8." So we put him at the 8.
It
Failed
doesn't matter
miserably at the 8.
where you put him. Basically, he needs to
Yeah,
be on a team who's firing on all cylinders, all out, just going forward, doing
it's
what Atalanta does, all action to even have a decent season.
sometimes
Second,
the
the
shirt's too
spotlight gets
heavy for
shined.
people.
Exactly. Second, he needs to actually step up and be a class player and have some quality and do it on his own. Obviously, we saw it happen. I'll give my rating first. I think he deserves a 1. He scored one
Oh, I
really nice
totally agree.
quality goal. He gets a 1. He gets the worst rating on the team.
I'll give
He's
him a
actually a
1 as well.
hindrance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, big time. I'll give him a 1 too. And it's just frustrating because not only does he, now he has never played one good game for us, but he gets to take every free kick, every
And he
corner kick, and
plays
he got to be
all the
captain.
time. Yeah, how do you
He's
give
in
a guy like
every
that
game.
captain? It's just really weird. That I mean, if that doesn't just like kill the spirit of the team, like, hey, we're gonna give this guy who doesn't
Oh,
deserve a
dude.
captain. Really weird.
He's like the shitty coach's son, where you're like, oh god, the kid's gonna play again. Oh, it's a coach's son. Oh, his mom brings the freaking juice boxes.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know what type of hold he's got. Maybe it's just like a Juve thing saying, hey, we spent a lot of money on this guy. You got to play him. I don't
no,
know,
because we
but
don't play Luis.
that's
You
true.
know, Luis is a $9 million guy. I mean, he's got the biggest contract on the team besides Vlahovic. I mean, we don't play him. I think Mota picked one guy this year, and the guy he picked was Coop, and it
Mm.
was a horrible choice. And
Yeah,
he's
he like
so
sees something
stubborn.
in him and he's just stubbornly keep him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's
Well,
so stubborn.
let's move on to guys who
Yep.
are actually playing pretty decent, or at least we don't have any more of like the total stinkers anymore. We move on to Yildiz. I think Juve is
Oh,
by
9,
far brightest player, and I think he is a future world class talent.
9. He's the best player we have by far. Not even close.
I'm gonna go 8.5.
Okay.
What would you pick? You get the final say here. This is your guys, it's your squad, your team.
8.5. 8.5. It's
You
fine.
got it.
It doesn't matter because he's our best player. He's our
He's a
most talented
kid
player.
carrying the
He's
team in attack.
carrying the team. He's our whole attack. And I said Locatelli is our best player overall because of his contribution to what his impact on the team is massive.
Yeah.
When we don't have him, we're a much worse team.
Same
Yield
with
is
Yildiz. He pops in
Yield is in
with
attack.
goals that would 100% be like losses rather
Yeah.
than ties, or wins rather than ties. And honestly, the cool thing is he's been able to play both sides. He can play with both feet. I do agree with you. He's going to eventually, at some point, when he makes that step to the next level in quality, he's going to be like a CF or a second striker
Yeah,
or a cam. He's going to tuck in eventually. This guy's quality, you can see
he's
it, and he
so
fights hard too.
he's oh
He's not weak. He fights hard. I really like it.
he is a proper Juve player. I remember a really good match for him in his growth process was last year. He's 18 years old and he's playing under Paulo Montero. It's I think the last game of the season against Monza, and that was a really good game for Oz Fagioli as well. But it was Chiesa and they were in a 3-4-3 with Chiesa and Yildiz as the behind the striker behind Milik. Chiesa and the work rate of Chiesa and Yildiz was fucking amazing, and you really got to see how much of a fighter Yildiz really was. And they would switch sides, they would drift. They played totally free. It was beautiful. And what you saw this year, this season, is because of all that activity he got last year. When he's been asked to play as the actual attacking mid, our goal scoring rate is like through the roof. It's like he's played there like 4 matches and we got 11 goals when he plays in the center. But Moda keeps putting him on the sides because you got Coop, and he just refuses to like not start Coop. So I think he's ready now to play in the inside. And I think that's where he should be, but he's going to continue to play on the left. But or left to right. I don't mind him as a side back though because his work rate's incredible. I think he's like the top tackling forward in the league. Is that did we do that before, Mike? We look at
Yildiz,
those stats. Yeah, he has the most tackles for a
he's
forward.
he's up there. Yeah, I don't think he's the top, but he's up there. He's in like the top 10. But the kid works hard. He's a
Yeah.
battler. He's a gamer. This is somebody you should definitely not sell.
Oh
Um,
God. Well, we probably will
you
because
never know. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You never know.
plus Valenza. Yeah.
Next, let's move on to, or actually, before that, I do remember. Also, another good, like, serious character test was, I don't know when he got subbed in, but they were playing against Inter. I believe they were
Inter.
down 4-2, and then he comes on and bags 2 goals to tie,
Yeah.
their rivals. It was pretty awesome. So
100%.
that's the last thing I'll say
Super
about Yildiz, though. That's
mega
awesome.
character test. He also scored, against Torino both times. So
No, this kid's something special.
yeah,
We
he
move
is.
on to Conceição. I'll start with mine. I think he's actually one of June Julie's few good signings. I think he's been pretty excellent out there. He might be a little bit limited, but he's young and he always fights. I like his mentality. I think he's been quite a good signing. I would actually give him. You may give him something different. I would give him probably about a 6.5 or 7. I think I go 7. I like the kid a lot.
Okay.
What are you gonna do?
I mean, unless you're a two-footed winger that should be playing inside like Yildiz and you're a superstar, I think wingers are the most overrated position in all of football. I think it's incredibly easy to find wingers, especially inside-out wingers or cut inside wingers. They're just a dime a dozen. Conceição is a very good player. He plays with the grimace. It's adorable. I love it. He works hard. Can't fault him for that. Decision making is really poor. Plays with his head down. His right foot's tragic. And he's good. I like him. I like having him around. I'm gonna give him 6. I can't give him a 7. He hasn't been that. I don't think he's that good of a player. I think he's gonna get a little bit better, and that's to be the most.
Okay,
I'm gonna give him
you
6.
get the final say.
I like him, but yeah, I don't think I don't think he was better than what we had.
Don't think he's been better than the guys we've given a 6. If you think it, and that may be fair. If he's been just as good as Savona, Cambiaso, and Thuram, then 6 it is.
I think Bangula has produced more actually to the team than Conceição has,
We
which
move
is
on. We move on then. We move on
Mhm.
to Gonzalez, who's been injured for a lot of the season. Quality player for sure. What do you feel about Gonzalez?
Well, I've always liked Gonzalez. I don't think
Nico.
he's a world class player by any means. I think he's a solid player though. I've always been a fan of his. I don't think it was the right signing. I think it was too much money. I think he's too injury prone. But I don't have anything bad to say about Nico as a player. Unfortunately, the most of the time lately that he's been on the field, he's been used as a striker. But when he plays as a right winger, which is his normal position, he's pretty good. So I'm going to give Nico overall because the injuries, he hasn't nearly scored as many goals as he should. Sometimes it's unfair that he's playing as a striker, but it is what it is. I'm going to give him 5.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't had an amazing season, but he's also, you said, been played way out of position. Um, he's produced something when he has come in sometimes, but I definitely wouldn't go a 6 for him. I probably would go with like a 5 or 5.5. So I'm cool with
He's a
your
player that could
rating.
easily, churn in some, pop in some goals here for us, but he's just not. He's not being
He's
prolific
got
enough.
potential to be like a 7
Yeah,
or an 8, but I mean, he has to, one, stay healthy,
yeah,
and two, I think he does have to be played in the right position to be truly
yeah.
effective.
We need to get
Um,
him back on the wing. He's super athletic. I mean, his aerial ability is great. He's another guy that to me is he's like I think we should be playing a 4-4-2. He's a good second striker type, playing off a striker or really truly a right winger. That's what he is. Another cut
Weah.
inside winger. Weah's been okay. When Weah's good, Weah's good. I think Weah is a little bit underrated in what he brings to the team tactically, but that is also something that we do have some good, like Conceição and Yildiz also have really good work rate too. So having Weah on there doesn't improve that. But Weah he's had his moments, he's had his matches. He's I'm going to give him a 4, maybe
Um,
a 5,
I think I'd give him a
4.5.
5. I mean, he's been
5,
solid.
yeah.
I mean, I can't
Yeah,
remember him
he's
having
not
like a
bad.
bad match though. So I mean, I
Yeah.
really can't even rate him like below 5. Honestly, he might
Yeah,
even get
you're
like a
right. 5
5.5
is
because
no
like
5. Yeah,
he's
5
been
is
better
fair.
than Nico, right? He's been better than Kalulu.
No,
He's
no,
solid, no?
Nico has scored. Nico has put the ball in the net. And Weah has had a couple goals. Actually, he's had some goals. Yeah. No,
5 or
maybe you're right.
5.5. I mean,
5.5.
I haven't seen him play a
5.5.
bad game. Like he's always going to
No.
give you a rate. So
Yeah. Yeah. He,
I'd
he
go up
gives
from
you
there.
work rate at the very least. 5.5. You're right. You're right. I'm just being too hard on him.
Where does Mbangula sit here?
Mbangula's a 6 for me because Mbangula has actually had, I believe, more contribution than Conceição. I think he's more direct. I think that he's made some better plays. He plays with his head up. He's been really good, man. Another next gen product. And yeah, he's been pretty damn good. Every time he's on there, he works hard. He gets back and helps the defense. And like I said, he plays with his head up. The difference between him and Conceição is Conceição, you know where he's dribbling. He's going to the baseline, or he's going to cut inside. It's simple as that. Bangula, you don't really know. Like he could drift into the center and float a pass over the top. He could take a long shot. Bangula's good, man. I like him. I want to see him play a little bit more. I mean, we have a team full of children anyway, so why the hell not play him? He's 20,
So what
so I
what
gotta
would be
give him a
your overall
6.
rating? I like a
6.
6. I like a 6.
Yeah.
All right. Dusan Vlahovic.
Ooh, Dusan Vlahovic is a 4. He is the striker that never was, man. I mean, if I like Dusan, I think he's talented. I think he's going to go somewhere else and absolutely thrive. But we just do not have and have never had a setup where we needed just a straight up poacher. I mean, the guy. If you look at the games where he played really well, it's always games where we're playing defensive and counterattacking. When we can have balls for him that he can run onto. When he plays with his back to goal, he's terrible. When we're boxed into the, when the smaller teams are stacking the box, he just doesn't have the composure to get those. When he gets those 1 or 2 chances a game, he doesn't have enough composure to finish those 1 or 2 chances a game. He's a guy that needs like 5 or 6 shots a game, and he'll bury him. That being said, great header against Man City. That's he has the physical ability and the talent to do it, but he's just so inconsistent, and he's been like that for too damn long. I don't know if there are a lot of great strikers anymore in today's game. I just don't. I think that's a position that's totally gone off the deep end. But he's making a ton of money. I mean, right now with whatever bonuses he was promised, he's making 22 million a season for the next 2 years. I mean, he's got to be someone that goes now, and he's probably at a 4. Most of his goals that are scored have been penalties.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to rate him for me because
It is.
they don't do much as far as goal scoring when he's not there, right? But he also isn't doing enough himself. Um, as I said, he's the striker who never was. Still with that, he always puts up decent numbers. I mean, I think the issue is there was a lot of money spent for him, and he has a massive contract, and he's just not that guy. At least not that guy at Juve. And so I agree he should probably move on for his own career and for Juve. I think he could even probably go to a different team in Serie A and probably have success. But I think he is
I
gonna have success elsewhere. But for
I
me,
just think it's a
go
bad
ahead.
fit.
Yeah,
I just think it's
I
a bad
agree.
fit.
I mean, he does
I,
have a good, at least like he works hard, but I mean, he's not the class striker that the Juve needs. He's just not.
I mean, the problem I have with that with that comment is like, who is?
Well, and this is why we're not usually too harsh on him because, like, look, who are you really going to sign besides the top of the top? Like, you're going to either go get Gyökeres, Isak, Holland. I mean, like, there's not that many top
We're not
strikers out
signing
there.
those guys,
There's like five guys that you
and
can get, and they're
and
not going to sign.
none of those guys had to deal with Italian defenses. I mean, even Ronaldo, I think just recently was saying it's by far the toughest league for strikers.
Yes, I mean
Cristiano Ronaldo,
it's
he said
hard
that's
it's hard
by
to say
far
who would just like come in and like dominate the league. I mean, and if you look at it right now, even in his not great season, he's got the same amount of goals as most people in there besides like the top three. Bertegui's ahead of him, Thuram's ahead of him, Keane's ahead of him, right? Everybody else is right there with him on seven.
well, no one scored more goals than him in 2004, and it's just like I watch all the games, and it doesn't seem like he gets that many goals, but they come in chunks with him. It's like a game where he'll get two or three, and then he won't score for 5 games, and he'll get two more, or I'll get a penalty.
Yeah, they definitely come in chunks. I'm just saying like he's not like as bad as people think he is because
no,
it's all about his price. When they see the price tag, like, well, he's awful,
yeah,
but he's also not who he needs to be. I think I would go closer to a 5 because he has not been good, but he also hasn't been like atrocious. So I think that's
that's
exactly what,
fine.
what a 5 is
That's
for.
super fair. That's super fair. We're a much worse team when he's not on the field. I'll tell
That's
you that.
right.
Even when he's playing a stinker, he still collects defenders.
I think I agree with most of these here. Um, Mota,
Okay, yeah. This is going to be a longer discussion because
yeah.
Mota is. You were really high on Mota. I'm not a big fan.
I thought
But
he'd be better at a team like Milan though, because I don't know. I just felt like he would fit better there. I never really thought he'd be the best for Juve. I wasn't like, oh, he's gonna kill it at Juve. Juve is a kind of weird team. I thought he was gonna come to Milan with two of his dudes, with Calafiori, with Xerxes, and then he went to Juve. So then the rumor said, well, he's gonna bring those guys over to Juve. None of that really materialized, and you just got Mota. Um, man, he's what do you think? It's kind of a mixed bag, and I think I have a little bit of a different opinion as a lot of the main media and people think. I think you're kind of on the same page. What do you think about Mots? I mean, what's your
why
overall
don't you start?
rating?
What is your opinion? Because I
I
want to
don't
hear
think
what
he's
you have to
doing
say
that
about it.
bad. I think this is a really sloppy team. I think Juntli has built a really junky team with no real ideas in mind. He spent a ton of money on guys he never should have that he never needed to. We'll get into the nitty gritty, but he
Mhm.
destroyed the next gen and sold all of Juve's character and future and foundation, as we like to talk about a lot. And Mota's sitting and he buys no backup striker. So if Vlahovic goes down, team is screwed. He has no backup defenders, so team is screwed. He has to bring in Kalulu randomly. Like this team is so poorly built, and I mean they have D mids, but there's no like actual like. I mean, yeah, they brought in Luis, but I mean they didn't really bring in like a true D mid. I don't know. He just constructed this team so poorly, juntily. I think Mota's doing okay. He has to play boring sometimes. That's fine. That's when they do the best, as we like to say. I don't think Mota's doing that bad, but he's also not doing great. I think Mota. I actually can't give him a negative rating. I think I'm gonna give him a 6. I think he's doing maybe even a 6.5. I think he's doing better than a lot of people would with this team, but he's also not doing great. So it's a 6 or 6.5 from me. I'm torn.
Yeah,
Where you at?
I don't disagree at all. So I was not a fan. I didn't want him here. I wanted there was one guy I wanted that was Conti. I thought he was the
Of
only
course, that was
guy.
the best coach out there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, dude, Conti's a he's
He's
Juventus
a Juve
through and through.
guy. Yeah, he is a
He's
Juve
Juventus
guy. Yeah,
through and through. And it was such a disgrace to not bring him in. And
for
then,
sure.
to hear him, when I mean, he was like bringing his family to the stadium and giving him tours, doing apology, grand apology missions. And then it was just like, no, we don't want you. We're going for Mota, and then to see him, talking with Milan and Napoli, I'm just like, you know what? You guys are so fucking dumb. If he goes to one of those teams, they're going to kick our ass.
Yep. Well,
And
they're
sure
already
enough, they are.
starting, And
Yeah, sure enough.
so you guys wind up with
You know,
Malta, who was he was one of the hot hands. He was definitely a coach on everybody's
I
radar.
don't care about that. I
I
don't
know.
care
I'm
about
just saying that that was
that.
like a hot signing. People were excited to get him.
Yeah,
You may
yeah.
not
So
have
was
been,
Deserby.
of
You know, but
course.
here's what I will say about Mata. He has been pleasantly surprising. I knew he wasn't going to be the offensive juggernaut that all this crap on YouTube was saying with this 272. Like I knew that, but I'm actually super pleasantly surprised at how much he does focus on the defensive side. I do not give a crap
I mean, his
about how
Bologna team was
entertained I
pretty
am.
stout defensively last
Yeah, they
season.
were. Oh yeah, no, he plays a good defensive game. When I started looking into him and seeing what he actually does, and stopped watching all that crap, I started watching the games. I'm like, yeah, he's defensive minded coach. Okay, this is going to be so bad. Because the Juve way is defense first. And you can even see throughout the season when we play those matches, when he goes away from his possession style, and we actually do park the bus and hit him people on the counter attack. We play much better. It's really hard to it's super hard to judge him. Because I'm not a
I
Mota
know.
fan. I am not.
It's a
I
very
didn't think
difficult thing to
Allegri was
judge.
the right guy for the job either. I don't think Allegri builds at all. I think he's the exact opposite of a builder. I think he's a guy you hand their finished product to.
Oh, for
So
sure. Yeah,
you know,
he's good
it's
at managing
not.
like a bigger team for sure.
The problem is there's two camps. So like the people who hate Mota have to love Allegri, and the people who it's like no, I'm not
It's
either of
weird.
those.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
weird.
I
You
don't
get a
care
lot of
about
people who
that.
like, oh, Malta's doing terrible. And they probably give him like a two, rating. But like,
Yeah, no, he's
I don't
not.
know.
He's. I think Mota is doing he's overachieving with the players he has, but how responsible is he for the players that he has? He's also the guy that's putting coop miners out there every single
That's
week.
right. So he does
You
have
know,
some blame there, and I mean,
that's a major blame.
yeah,
He's a useless player every single
and,
week.
and and he keeps playing. Like you could put a kid there.
Yeah,
You could be playing Fagioli somewhere else. You could just run something different, and he's not doing it. So he gets blamed there for sure. But he's also has a poorly built team. So he's to me very very hard to judge, which is why I kind of smack
yeah.
dab in
I
the
mean,
middle. So
every time you start thinking he's bad, you go and you look at a game like the Atalanta game, where you have a team in Atalanta that is out of form, okay, but they're one of the better teams in the league. Overall, the season they're on their game. But they've had a few matches in a row now where they're struggling. And we go into that match when we're having a lot of struggles. He totally had Gasparini's number. That was a tactical win. Or, well, I mean, it's a draw, of course, but it was a tactical win for us because I thought, most people thought we'd lose that game because Atalanta's, going
right.
second in the table or
And a
whatever.
lot of this is like people are making individual mistakes too. Like take the game against Milan, right? Locatelli slide tackles Pulisic, which he had no need to do when they were winning already, and that changed the whole game. Like these are things that just players make, and you can't even. I mean, what are you supposed to do? But
Do you have?
he was leading the game. They were the first half. I mean, they were controlling the game. Like, and he has done these in bigger games, so he does have these performances. I don't know, man. Moto's a really. He's
I
probably the hardest judge on here for me. The hardest
I
one to judge
don't
here.
think I think there are very few coaches that can take this shit roster and get more out of it.
I totally agree.
I don't know who, like, if the people who saying fire him now, who are you going to bring in?
Yeah, you're just gonna bring in
People will
some
seriously
caretaker
tell
who's
you
gonna have
Zidane.
similar, if not worse, results.
Zidane's not coming here. Zidane's coached one team. It was like the greatest team ever assembled. He's not coming here. Deschamps is coaching the national team. We didn't want him in the past. We didn't want him after he got us promoted. Like, who else is there? So I think he's doing a solid, decent, okay job for the shit roster he has. Do you have the graphic of like who we actually brought in this year and who he's been asked to coach?
No, I mean it's we I have the ratings all up here, so you can see like all the
Yeah, I mean it's
going.
almost with him and June. It's like a chicken and the egg discussion. Like who's worse? Like who's the problem?
Yeah, I
And,
mean I don't know who he's like specifically requested, but I mean from what I was reading, most of these players have been brought in by June Lee. Maybe multiple respect, like
coaches don't pick the players.
some
That's
do. It's rare though. It's rare, but
Yeah,
some do.
they make a few requests. They don't Coaches don't sit there and pick all the players in the transfer
Yeah,
market. They'll be
even
like, I
even
really want this
Conte,
guy.
we were talking about like even
Yeah,
Conte, who's one of the people that think, oh, he picks all his players. No, he
yeah, he's
doesn't.
one of the
He
most
he
bold.
even said he has a couple people who he like named as I want, but the rest of the guys are just profiles. So like, and that's coming from one of the most bold guys out there. He would expect picks
Yeah.
all of them. He doesn't pick all of them. He picks a handful that he really wants, right? And then the rest are profiles. So I mean,
Yes.
Mota, I don't think would have any more, clout than that. Definitely less. So I don't know. If you have to give him a rating, what are you going to give him?
I'm going to give him a 6. I think that
Yeah, I think it's fair.
if I think if you have a guy like Pioli, I think if you have any other coach, I think we're doing worse. I think him getting these draws. I mean, these are games we should probably be losing half the time. I mean, this team is so low on character and so
Yeah.
low on actual class.
The
There's
amount of
no
times they're
leaders on
leading
the
a
team.
game and they get tied or scored on, it's insane. And a lot of it's like
Yeah.
silly individual errors where said the guys just don't have class. They have not been there, done that because they just haven't. Like, look at this roster. With all the players are up here. 0 people have actually been there, done that. Nobody has won a real championship. Nobody has like locked it down, has had to push through adversity. Nobody on this roster has done that.
No one's been a key player on any team really. They've
Anything
been, serviceable.
worthwhile. Nobody.
I mean, you can go across every single position and just be like, woof. When
And
your
like
best players are Yildiz and Locatelli and McKennie, something's wrong. Yildiz is a super talented guy. He's 19
he's
years old.
19. Like, he should be going into a team where there's already a couple world class players and a nice core, so he can develop properly, and then in a few years become the guy. The fact that he has to do it now is a reflection on how poorly built this team is. And then one of your other good attackers this season, I know you may not love him as much, but I think Quincy Sal's been good. He's also a kid. Like,
He's
kids,
22.
kids are
Yeah,
carrying this team right now.
yeah. It's absolute insanity that someone thought this was a good idea, and then for him to have to coach this. I mean, and maybe this was his idea. Maybe he's like, just give me a bunch uh
Of young, talented
of,
guys.
of young of young kids. Yeah,
I
I
don't
just
know.
want to coach kids.
I don't know, man. I highly
And
doubt that that's what he
I'll
said.
say
I highly
I'll
doubt
say
it. You
this
never
in
know.
his defense. I mean, Yildiz has been developed really well. Savona has came out of nowhere and looked pretty damn
Yep.
good. Cambiasso has continued his upward trajectory. Locatelli's come out of had an out of body experience this
Mangula
season.
has been good
Gotti's
at
look good.
times. Yeah.
Bangula's look good. Conceição. I mean, the young guys are playing well. It's the guys that were brought in that are trash.
Yeah,
And
Luis, Coop,
that's
stuff
been,
like that.
yeah, Luis and Coop, the big signings have been poor
Well, not just
because
not
they're
just that,
bad
but the
signings.
overall team construction. Like,
Yeah.
this team does not complement each other very well. So
Well, I
that's
think we've
a
talked about it a couple times too, like, hey, put your best lineup on paper. And you
it's
sit there
awful,
go,
man.
oof, oh
It's
man,
so
do I really got to stick
terrible.
with this defense? Oof, ooh, God, this midfield. Well, I want to run Fagioli, but he doesn't really have a good counterpart to him because no one was brought in to be that counterpart. So, okay,
That's
you
exactly
just kind of
right.
put 2 defensive guys out there, and then you wonder why you have no attacking prowess.
Yeah, you
But you
can't
got to
put
cover up
nice
your shitty
complementary
defense.
pieces together. You really
Yeah,
can't.
no, it's a poorly built squad. Yeah,
Um,
which could lead us into June to lead,
yeah,
right?
and I think that all the stuff we've been talking about kind of lets everybody know what I think both of us think about this guy. Um,
Yeah, I give him a 0.
I actually totally agree. No, no, no. I was gonna give him a 1 because I thought that
Taram.
Thuram and Conceição can be quite good players. That's it. I give him no, I can't give him 1. I gotta give him 0.5.
Point five.
That's
Yeah,
mine.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
0.5.
because he's worse
I
than
want to
Coop
give him
because
a
he brought
negative.
Coop in. Yeah, we can't give him a negative, but
I
like,
want to
you
give
know
him a
what?
negative.
He gets a 0. There you go. How about that?
Okay.
Can
So
you get the lowest rating on my
I
team?
I just want to kill one fallacy real quick before I proceed with Gentili. His main excuse that I hear for him is he was really screwed by all these big salaries and our penalties. Okay. Timeout. Prodigy hasn't been there for like what 2-3 years now. He left in 2021. We can't still blame him. These salaries are coming off the books on their own.
And
He
so
didn't.
what? Like, you slowly chip away at him, but
Yeah.
you still need to bring in good people on reasonable contracts and not overpay for them. It doesn't matter. Like, yeah, that's great, but no, I agree. That's not an excuse at all.
We haven't. We're not broke. We're spending astronomical amounts
And
of
you've
money.
spent a
We haven't
ton of cash
spent.
this summer.
He's spent more money than Prodigy does. I mean, he's literally spent more money than Prodigy has. So it's a bunch of BS. These excuses that were given. So there was a million different ways to pay off our $50 million penalty. Like a million different ways.
I think that
Some of our young guys, tons of ways it's going to cap. But you cannot tell me that offloading guys like Rovella, Keane, and Heisen were good ideas.
no, like, They're not, because none of them even left for some crazy deal. None of them were sold for 50 mil or something like that. I mean, Rovella was done for 18, I believe, or 17.5,
17
something like
million.
that,
Yeah.
and it's paid
Oh,
over
and,
two
yeah,
years.
3 years. It's paid over
It's
3 years.
ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. And
Yeah.
how badly could you use a true D mid who does it all, right?
There,
And
there's
then he offloads
Proper
Heisen,
Regista.
who from the time he was a young kid, you could tell that wow, this guy's got a lot of class and maturity. He never was bad. He was always talented. Now look at him tearing it up. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what do
If you
you
couldn't
gain
tell
from
that
selling
that
these
kid had
guys?
it.
Like
Yeah.
seriously, if somebody can tell me what you gain from selling these guys because you're not selling for a lot of money. I
Oh, he
mean,
sold him for peanuts.
it's crazy. Like, what was the sale for Heisen? I'll look it up
Heisen
right
was sold
now.
for 50. No, I got it right here. It's 15.2.
Yeah, so 15.2, 18 for Ravello over a few years. The only
Yeah,
sale that you could say he probably actually like was a bigger one that and but although I
Sule.
think he shouldn't have, but it was still a bigger one was Sule. That's the only one that was like, okay, I understand the money for that.
25 mil for Sule. That's what I didn't want to sell Sule at all, but when I saw the 25 mil come in, I go, you probably got to
You
take it.
can see it. You can see it. The
Yeah,
rest make no
you probably got
sense.
to take it. Yeah, because we did need some cash, and that's a way to chip that fee right in half. So I was like, I didn't mind that. Guys like Illing Jr. I didn't like Illing Jr. It was a good sale. That's fine. Getting rid of guys like Rabiot and Chiesa and just throwing them in the trash basically for nothing. You can say what you want about Chiesa, but there's very few players that have his upside and his talent, and he had a good season last year. And if you remember correctly, there were some tight games, and the guy who got the first goal in those tight games was always Chiesa. So say what you want, but he was a really good player for us. Offloading him for 12 mil was a
Yeah,
huge
it's
mistake.
it's just nothing. I mean, like,
They got rid of him from nothing.
you can't really even justify like, all right, so some people say, okay, you're worried about his injuries. Fine, he can sub some games and start some games when he's healthy. Like I don't see selling him for 10 mil how that's really going to help you. And everybody talks about the salary, but I mean, you just brought in guys like Luis and Koopmeiners who have a higher salary, or
Well,
sorry,
yeah,
Coop has less,
and
but
and
Luis has more.
Gonzalez.
Yeah,
Well, and Gonzalez only makes like 2 million less than him on a season, but they also cost us 40 million,
right,
and
right.
he's just as injury prone, and he's less talented player who's more limited because he's only 1-footed.
You look
So,
at his overall record, I mean, it's awful. Giunti's record is awful, and they say, "Oh, look what he built at Napoli." He didn't build anything at Napoli.
didn't build that
He
net.
bought a
No.
ton of players. He got lucky with Kavara and with Kim. And honestly,
Well,
for
Cavara
me,
was through De Laurentiis. That wasn't even him.
right, and being a Milan fan, we've been linked with Kavara for about 2 to 3 years here because of Kaka Kaladze from Georgia. So
Yeah.
this guy's a known quantity, right? Yes, they got him on a good cheap deal because he wasn't playing in a big league, but it wasn't like, oh my god, he discovered him out of nowhere. The
Yeah, it's
only
like St.
guy I
Turam was a
can maybe give
discovery.
him credit for is Kim because he definitely nobody
Kim.
knew him. That's it. One guy. You're gonna. That's it.
Yeah.
Come
No,
on.
he he every year at Napoli he'd bring in like 8 to 12 people.
Yeah, you're
It's
you're
like
gonna strike
he's
gold
like
once or twice.
he's like running a strip club. They come and they go. Who doesn't matter, sell them off when it's like that's not how you build something that lasts.
It's
That's not
crazy.
the right mentality for a club like Juventus, especially with all the financial problems. Like he's an expensive guy. Like you got to give De Laurentiis credit for putting up with him for so long. Like the amount of money he spent this year is ridiculous. We owe 80 million in the summer. If we don't qualify for Champions League, we're
Yeah, a
screwed.
lot a lot of these deals have to kind of
Yeah,
have to get paid then. So yeah, there's a lot
and
a lot of stuff that's gonna be going on with you.
one
Juve's
striker to
season's
start the
huge right
season.
now.
One striker to start the season. Two natural center backs on the roster to start the season. He spends $130 million in the central
Let's
midfield.
go of
Already
Hoyson
covered.
when you could totally use him. Let's go of Rugani, who's a great backup, who's got enough
Yeah.
quality to start. Like, what are you
It
doing? And
dumps
then you have to
Rugani
get
for
a
no
last
reason.
minute signing of Kalulu because oops, I forgot to sign more center backs. Crazy. It's just so sloppy.
Yeah, he's a mess. And not to mention he buys high, sells low. He gets worked on every
Yeah,
deal.
it's like reverse Moneyball. These aren't even
Every deal.
good. These aren't even good business decisions. Like, if you, let's say he just has bad, footballing knowledge. He even got bad business knowledge. I mean, he's
Oh yeah.
like, when's the last time besides Sule, he like bought at a great price and sold it at an amazing price? Like, it's
Never.
just not happening.
Never. No, it's Soule's the best deal he made, and I still the jury's out if that was a smart sale.
Yeah. He's
Like I
only
said, I
21,
still
man,
would
and
have done
Sule's
it.
got a ton of talent. So it really might not work out. Like, he could become fantastic. So.
The difference between a guy like Soule and Conceição is Soule has a ton more upside. Soule is a way more creative player, and he's got a supreme amount of skill. But Conceição works harder and he's ready now, so that gives him immediate value
He
with
was next
Conceição.
gen,
But
right? I mean, there's
yeah,
a theme.
plays next gen.
The
Yeah,
theme is, I don't know what is wrong with this guy, but I think it's because of capital gains, as everybody gets so
it's
obsessed
easy.
with,
Yeah,
because you didn't pay for him. He has, and I guess it's going late here, so we'll probably wrap up after this. But
it's
he
fine.
has been just about single handedly. Maybe there's some other hands in the pot. Been destroying Juve's youth, their next gen, and their young Italians, who Juve's always been known for. He has been awful for Juve in the short, and I think in the long run we're going to see it really struggle. If Juve does not qualify for Champions League this year, if they somehow slide out of it, it's going to be there's going to be a pretty big slide, and they're going to have to sell for a lot of guys. It's going to be a rough summer. So I
I
think
love
that's why you're
rebuild.
going and seeing them like go get guys like Colomwani.
Oh, yeah, these are this January has been very desperate. And yeah, when you sign a guy on a dry loan like
Yeah,
Kolo Muani, that just reeks of
yeah, you
desperation.
got 1 in 10.
It's yeah, it's going to help us because we have one striker, but
Of course,
it's a terrible deal. It's a terrible, terrible negotiated deal. Once again, it's just
it's not even a panic
aren't
buy; it's
there
just a
any
panic
other
dry
options?
loan. It's crazy, but
It's a
I mean, I
rental
get it
player.
though. You have to because they need to qualify. They
Yeah,
must
I
qualify.
mean, I love teams in a rebuild. I love to see how it's
Oh,
done
rebuilding's the most fun thing to do.
because I've seen over my gazillions of years on this planet, I've seen the examples of them being done successfully. And this is
You're a prehistoric
here's the
being, is what
fact.
you are.
Any
BC.
anytime you hear project 3 years, 3-year plan, you can just immediately forget it. That's the wrong mentality. It's a loser mentality. It never works. The rebuild projects that always work, I'm talking about top teams. Okay, if you're a tiny freaking team and you got $10 million budget, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, you gotta have
it's
a plan.
different. It's
Okay,
different. But when a big team
you're a
is
team
forced to
like
rebuild,
yeah, Juventus, even teams like Napoli, like they're not as big as the other clubs, but they got money to spend, and they could be if they get the right people in place. Like you win now, and you start building that winning culture immediately. And when you fail, you should fail with like a second or third place. And this whole time that we're in right now, and these decisions that are being made, remind me a ton of post Calciopoli Juventus. Very similar mentality, different results though. So like right after Calciopoli, yes, we had some amazing players that stuck around. So we had an incredible nucleus. We didn't destroy that nucleus. We kept it intact. But what we added to it was we added like average foreign players, and we spent more money than we should have on them. And every year I had to hear how great these players were, and every year they kept failing and getting beat out by guys like Cristiano Zanetti and Nocerino, and guys who were already there. It was Thiago. I had to hear about how great Thiago was forever, and he kept just
they brought in
playing
what?
average games.
Almiron
And
was one of them too, right?
yeah,
Then yeah,
Almiron,
so there's a lot of guys.
Christian Paulson. Yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Felipe Melo, Diego. Diego was one person that everyone agreed on was a fail, but like there were so many that were brought in, and
Yeah,
then like
everybody's
our
getting very excited about these signings too.
yeah, our first year up was third. That's much better than we're at now. Then it was second. Oh
Which
wow, we're really
actually
pushing. I mean,
is very, very similar to what's happening right now. Right? 'Cause everybody
yeah.
got very excited about, oh, you guys spent a ton. Like, I mean, even I was like, well, maybe they're gonna be good. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna do great this season. You know,
Oh, this $130 million. People were talking about our midfield, like the Thuram, Douglas Luiz, and Coop Miners, and literally asking, like, is this the best
it
midfield
does mirror what you're
midfield in
saying
Serie A?
about those
Eh,
older
eh,
seasons. It does mirror.
Yeah, and then what happened? It all fell out. Like all the second, third, second, then boom, seventh again. And the year that we turned it around was obviously 2011. The second year Marotta was here, when Marotta screwed it up the first year, he brought in Conte. And what did they do? They sold off all those average foreign players that had been sitting there taking these salaries and getting excuses made for them. And they brought in, and I remember the general sentiment at the time being like, oh God, even Pirlo, when we brought Pirlo in, oh, we're bringing in retirees now. It's like, oh man, Giaccherini, Borriello, Matri, De Chelier. These weren't names that people were excited about. Parolo, Pepe. But
But he
what
knew
they
they
did
would fit
was,
the Juve culture. They would play the
yeah,
system. They would actually care, and he could get a team out of this, and then create some building blocks.
yeah. When you take Juventus is an incredibly Italian team. Out of all the big teams, and this is why I love them so much. They're like the most unapologetically Italian team. And when Juventus is strong, It's when they have this nucleus. And what they did was they built that nucleus of Italian players, and they added slowly over time world-class foreign players. They just and then they would come in when these players would come in. They'd come into a culture that's that's rich. They don't have an identity crisis. They know exactly who they are, what they want to do, where they're going. And you could add people to that. It makes things a lot easier. So
It's easier for everybody.
it,
It's easier for the Italians that you bring in. It's easier for the non-Italians that you bring in because
mhm.
they just have to kind of meld in with the culture, and you're either going to fit or you're not. I mean, it's just is easier to make a culture, to have an identity. I mean, it just makes sense, and it's
It's
been
the
successful.
philosophy that destroyed us when we were at the top, and it's the philosophy that's preventing us from reaching the top right now. Is because we're abandoning our heritage and our
By
culture.
selling all of
Uh,
your promising kids
yeah,
right now, like the
yeah.
guys who, if they do get to grow up through the system, if they do get to be integrated, I mean, the fans are gonna love them, and on top of that, like the the people who actually are doing it, they're gonna be so bonded with the team. They're gonna fight for this team harder than anybody else could because they've grown up here. Those are guys like you just can't let go of. I mean, why would you? Like that's exactly as a fan, when I feel passion, it's like, man, like this guy's been like at whatever team you support. This guy's been here for years. He lives this team. He bleeds these colors. That's what you want to watch. I mean, that's why you watch. That's why football has so much passion. So
If you
he's
ask
ruining
most
all of that right
fans,
now. Junta is.
no doubt. If you ask most fans who are the two players that they would never want to sell if you're Juventus, it's I guarantee you the overwhelming majority are going to be Yildiz and Cambiaso. And this for the exact reason we're describing right now. It's like this is why you build a team this way. Like if you look at Barcelona for the other financial problems they're having, like look, it's a very homegrown team, and that's why
Barcelona
they're
is
whooping
super cool
ass.
right now. I mean, Barcelona is very
Yeah,
homegrown, very Spanish. They've got some, it's good top class foreign talent, like with their, obviously Lewandowski, and then I forget their winger's name, but he's awesome. I think it's Rafinha, but that's how
it,
they're doing it. And
it,
the rest of the guys are mainly grew up in Barcelona system, or they're
yeah.
younger Spanish guys. It's super cool, and I love seeing that. And I don't know, my take on Juve, because there's Juve, there's Milan, there's Inter, and it doesn't have to always stay the exact same, but of the big three, and I know there's other big teams. Of those big three, Juve has been the most by far Italian rooted big team. Milan has been second, where they're basically like, hey, we're gonna have our Italian core, then we got our world class foreigners, but they're more open to that. Inter used to be, hey, we don't really give a crap where you're from. We want the best of the best, and that's fine. That's their mentality. That's even in their name. Juve is losing that big time, and
Yeah, and
and
that's
they had
why we're
it too
bad.
with the kids. All their, I mean, they could have just incorporated the kids, and then you buy a guy like Calafiore, you just buy one, or you buy Buongiorno. So, you buy one or two a season. You let your kids develop, and then you go and get like some top class guy from wherever who fits your mold, who fits your team. It's a pretty easy way to do it. I think it makes a lot of sense, but I think Juntli has a little bit of a complex, and he wants to do it his way. He wants you to know it's
Yeah,
his team, and so far his team sucks.
Juntali that has absolutely zero concern for culture. Juntali just thinks you can just buy guys
That ego, man.
because it worked.
It's
But
it's his team.
I'm sorry. I like Napoli a whole bunch too. I think I love their owner. It's one of my favorite teams. I love watching them. I mean, especially now, but always have. But I don't want our team to win one title every 8 years.
No, no, no. He's
That's
trying to
not the
build a
goal for
dynasty,
Juve. I
especially
don't want
Juve.
players to get cycled in and out. That's not how you build something that lasts. You don't buy your team. You build your team. He's trying to buy the team, and this is why it's not working. So you can put whatever coach you want in there. You can keep cycling these random players in and out of your team every single year. It's not going to work year in and year out. It's not going to definitely not going to be good for Juventus. That's not how this stuff works. And that's why our best players have been guys like Locatelli. These guys that have been here, guys that have like earned their way up. It's like you can't just what's he going to do next season? Let's say we do qualify for Champions League and money's not an issue suddenly. We're pay off our 80 million and somebody pulls more money out of his ass. He's going to buy more guys and they're going to
Yeah.
be bad. So like one of the teams I love the most, and I've been watching, it's been 20 years, but that those Conti teams, especially the first year, the undefeated season, it was so unapologetically Italian. It was so completely overwhelmingly Juventus, running 8 to 9 Italians out there each week and winning the league with the team that no one thought would be any damn good. Now in hindsight, everyone's like, "Oh, it was such a great team." It's like, well, yeah, it was, but we didn't know it at the time. No one did. because there was a vision, there was a plan. There were people who were on the team to be backups. There were complementary pieces, like we were talking about the midfield. It's like, who are the best complementary pieces for our center midfield? Like Locatelli and Thuram's been our best central midfield, just because it covers up our poor defense so well. But it's not actually a good midfield when you're considering possession in the offensive zone in the final third. It's actually pretty bad. That's Locatelli's main weakness. He's a poor distributor of the ball in the final third. He's good at long passes out of his own zone, but he's not a good regista or timekeeper.
No, I mean
Neither
we
is
talk
Thuram.
about Locatelli, and I mean like I think he's a great soldier, and he's had to play where he's had to play because of necessity. But when did Locatelli have his season when he was doing great? When did he have that moment on the national team where he looked excellent, and which is what made you buy him? He was playing a center mid role.
Yeah, he's a
Like
box to box.
that
Yeah,
that's where he was best. He was allowed to do both. He's a smart player.
just
He can
free.
do it. Right.
Yeah,
He can play defense or he can push forward when he needs to. And he's doing a serviceable job for sure. He's playing well, but I mean like it's just a poorly built team. Like where's the D mid? Where's the actual D mid that can actually sit there and let Locatelli then do his thing? I don't know. The it's pretty easy for me to see this. I think it's easy actually for a lot of fans to see this. Like but I can't believe June Tully and maybe even Malta to a degree as well, can't see how to actually build this team to be complementary.
yeah. That's, I don't know who's, and they're
I'm
peas
sure
in a
there's
pod.
plenty of blame to go around.
June Tully chose Mota. June Tully ousted Allegri. He sabotaged the season to bring Malta in. Once again, I'm not an Allegri guy, okay, but that's true. He did that. He screwed Allegri
100%,
over. Like we were
100%,
we
man.
were we were in a freaking title hunt, and he screwed him over
Oh,
by
Allegri
not
hated
getting him
June Tully. You
signees.
could see it in his
Yeah,
reaction later in the season, which I loved that, by the
exactly.
way, for me, just
I,
me
I did
personally.
too. I didn't mind it at all. I didn't mind that at all. People were like, "Oh, you can't act like that. Who cares, dude?" Like
I didn't care.
this,
He's got
this
passion,
guy's
man.
like, yeah, he
He's a
just dealt with
person.
3 years of complete shit, dude. Like the 3 years he was dealing with, we had penalty
Yeah.
points and fines. People were getting kicked out of the squad, kicked out of the management. I mean, he dealt with so much shit, and he stood there and fucking took it, and he did it gracefully and professionally. And
Yeah.
this it actually made me really get a lot of respect for him as a person throughout that whole phase. And then to get screwed over by this guy that's come in,
Yeah, he wants to
selling
do it
off
his
all your
way, man.
players. Yeah, yeah. It's like, man, so petty, so egotistical, and that already rubbed me the wrong way. And then this year with the getting rid of Ravello really pissed me off. And then this year with all the players he got rid of, I was like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah,
I mean,
this is man, I honestly I feel bad for you guys over at Juve. I mean, Milan has
you
been going through
should.
this for a while, so I'm already kind of numb to it. Yes, as we like to say, Juve is just a dash behind Milan as far as like,
They were like 2 years behind.
breaking the culture. Yeah, it's happened now at Juve. So, I mean, I think we kind of went into a little bit of, or actually a lot
So
of
how do
it
you get it
of,
back?
yeah, it's been destroyed. Or at least it is currently undergoing
It's
that.
it's destroyed.
How do you
It's
get it
destroyed.
back? Let's say Juve does
Okay.
qualify for Champions League. How do you get it back?
So for me, either way, I would do the same thing, just because it doesn't matter if we challenge for. I think it's actually worse if we do, because it just enables more of this uh, completely unhinged spending. It's not. So our salary, our payroll is not. It's only 10 mil cheaper than it was last year, and that was literally the salary of Alexandro. So we're not saving any money on payroll. We don't have any of those salaries coming off the next year, and we have 80 million to pay for loans. So we have to start out with 80 million in loans to pay. So I mean, immediately, what I would do is I would get rid of all these players who are failing, because you can't keep players like that on your team. They're failure players. You got to get rid of them. I would get rid of Coop. I get rid of Luis. Um, we have to figure this midfield out. I mean, Locatelli Thuram midfield is not a midfield that's going to take you all the way
I
home.
think you keep both, but then bring in somebody else though. I think you
Yeah,
bring in like a D mid. You'd probably
I mean,
try to get Ravella back, but I don't think you will.
yeah,
Plus,
yeah, yeah. I
and
mean,
I don't even know if he
I'd go on a
should leave.
hunt.
He's playing great, and he's gonna have a spot in the national team. So, but yeah, that would be a great guy. But I don't know if he's gonna come back.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ravella is one of the few registas in the game. I think he's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
who
players right
does it
now. I
right
mean,
because he can tackle and distribute.
yeah. I mean, if you watch Lazio and you don't see how good this guy is, you're crazy. This guy's amazing. He's constantly on the ball in the offensive zone. He tackles everything. He's got a
So
ton of presence and character. That would be my like number one target. Would
of
I try to get
course,
Bella back?
but either way,
You know,
you try to get like a real D move in
yeah,
there.
because Joly's already gone. He's getting
Yeah,
sold here in
we know
January.
Juventus is
So
selling him, so you can't. I mean, of
yeah,
course you'd keep him
Danilo's
maybe if you
gone.
could. Yeah,
Yeah,
Danilo's going
I
away.
don't know if I would. So here's, I guess, if you do qualify for Champions League, you can sign guys like Conceição. If you don't, Conceição's an option to buy. You can't sign him
No, you
if you
can't
don't
sign
qualify
him.
for
Yeah,
Champions
you
League.
can't sign him if you don't qualify.
So he's a
Definitely not.
goner. If you can't, your obligations you have to pay. So you're stuck with like Nico.
Is Nico an obligation?
Yeah, his obligation is 40 mil.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. We have 80 million in obligations, and it's Nico's one of them. Who else? Di Gregorio, and then Conceição and Kalulu are options.
Gotcha. I think
So
Kalulu's is a
yeah,
reasonable option. It just depends on what you guys want to play.
Kalulu
His
is
isn't too
18.
crazy price, right? So we'll see. I mean, I
18.
think it depends on Champions League
I wouldn't take
qualification
it.
if you do it.
I don't think he's good enough.
Not
No,
if you're running
I
a
would.
two-man back line. I think if Juve has plans on going to a three-man, I think he is good enough. That's for me personally. I think if you go with two-man, or at least two-man center back, I don't think he's the best at that.
My number one target right now would be Ravella, and my number one top targets would be Ravella and Dybala. Dybala's free. I would have
Yeah, I
been
mean,
talking to him. I would have been talking to him, apologizing, groveling, being like, "You need to come back.
it would be
We're
a
going to
really
build the
big
team around
sign that
you."
like, hey, we've made some mistakes. We're gonna correct our errors. That actually would be, and it's so funny. And I'll get into my stuff about Milan, but there's one signing I would make, and it's almost the exact same thing as you're doing here about like trying to bring back Dybala. Say, listen, he knows the Juve culture. The guy was in tears when he was leaving. He didn't want to leave.
Yeah,
He was
dude,
basically
he
forced
loves this
out.
club, man.
It would be admitting you're wrong. Hey, we're gonna go back to what we know. That would be great.
He is the classiest player in Serie A. There's not a single player in Serie A that has as much class as him. It is so frustrating watching
He's
him
gonna
be
help out any
so good
striker, man. He's gonna help out any
every week.
striker. He's
Yeah,
gonna help out your midfield by linking it. Yeah, that would be a great bring back. So you bring back like
and
Dybala.
yeah,
You
you got Moretti behind him, backing him up. He's learning from the best. Moretti's only
yeah,
20. He's gonna
Murray's
be
playing really
21
well right
next
now.
year.
He's doing really
Yeah,
well.
yeah. I'd be running like a 3-4-1-2 with the ball in the hole, or a 3-4 or 4-3-1-2, something like that. If you keep Conceição, see, this is the problem. If you keep Conceição, you got to stick with the winger thing, and I don't want to.
Well, you could just
Um,
keep Nico because Nico can definitely hack it
yeah,
playing up there, right?
yeah. I
Because
would
he's
actually let Conceição
obligation,
go.
and
I'd keep
then
Nico.
yeah,
I'll
and you
be
could
Nico
let Conceição
striker.
go,
Yeah,
right? And you
yeah.
have him
I mean,
play with an extra striker next to him or something like
you
that.
could actually, run just Nico and Yildiz with the Bella behind him. I mean, you really could do that.
You could,
It's
yeah, you
yeah.
could.
I mean, that's plenty of athleticism. I'd also, I'd probably look for guys like Luka, because he's an interesting profile, because he's so freaking huge. He gets those dirty goals. Good late game sub. I mean, if he ends up not being the greatest player ever, which I don't think he's going to be, I mean, it's the guy you bring on late in games to get those dirty headers.
You're selling Vlahovic, right? I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, definitely. You got to get the money. You got to get the money.
Yeah,
I
and
would sell
he's
guys
never
like
been the
that.
guy for USC yet. It's time,
Yeah,
and he still has a big market because honestly, there are not many top true strikers. It's such a rare position right now. He's still gonna hold good value. So yeah, probably good call.
yeah. If I can't get
Honestly,
Ravella,
it's not
I'd
even
be
that hard
going
of a
for
rebuild.
Tonali. No, it's not. I mean,
It just
you
takes a
got to.
couple targeted purchases and
I
stuff.
want to play with wingbacks, though. I want Cambiasso in his best position. I want McKennie on the other side, because
I mean,
McKennie, I
Weah
think,
can play
is
there
a good
too.
wingback.
Weah's
Way
got
can play
pace. He
there as
works
well.
hard. Wingback, I think would be his best position too.
Yep. Cabal is a wingback. I mean, we have wingbacks. That's
Savona
what we
can play
have.
wingback. Yeah, actually,
No.
they're all
Sabona
set.
would be out. Sabona to me is a right side center
You'd
back.
right center back him. I think he could
Yeah,
hang, but yeah, I think he could do both. But you may be right.
He's very poor going forward. He's very
He's
strong
not
defensively.
super fast either.
No, he's
He's
not.
a little
That's
more
yeah.
lanky,
Yeah.
but
I
he has
think
scored some
he'll be
goals
fine.
though. Hey,
Yeah, no, he's good in
he's
the box with
talented.
headers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's a
So
tall guy. He's like 6'4" or something. Yeah, and then I'd be, you obviously got Bremer in the middle, and you got Gatti on the right in your back line. Then you got to have that left-footed guy. So Heison's going to be 50 million. So it's either guy like Heisen, guy like Calafiori. If you got to get a younger guy like I think Mattiafidi's been playing really really well. You got Rugani coming back. I would definitely keep him.
yeah, he's definitely a good serviceable
I
player.
mean, last year, Rugani, Bremer, and Gatti was our best defense. I mean, it was an awesome defense. If you have a proper midfield in front of them, you're
Totally
fine.
fine.
And then you just slowly start building from there. You start working next gen guys in. You see if there's any freeze coming in. Like I would have picked up Hummels was the guy I wanted on Juve last year or this year. Pick him up on a free. You just kind of keep your eye out for players like that
Yeah,
that are
he would
like, hey,
actually
this
be
is
like the only guy on your team who's been there, done that a little bit.
yeah. That's exactly what I do.
That's kind of
I
crazy.
would yeah, I would keep building this Italian core up. And when You don't need world class players, but
And then
those are your
bring in
role
some
player
experience
guys.
too. You need to bring in some experience
Yeah,
for these kids to grow. A guy like, I mean, last year, of course, almost maybe, but not anymore this year. But a guy like Dybala, he's
mhm,
got experience now. Like that's a nice guy that you could bring back and bring in who's going to help the kids
yep.
grow. You bring in another one of the players like that, maybe for midfield or for defense. These things can help. Yeah,
If you don't go with Dybala and say you end up keeping a guy like Conceição, I would absolutely go 4-4-2. I would go with Yildiz and a striker up there. Uh, I would play Yildiz as a striker.
would you play Cambiaso on left
I
mid
would
at
play him
that
as
point, and then
I
play
would play him at
Conceição
left
right
mid.
mid?
Yes.
I think so, right? Yeah,
Yeah. I would not play Cambiaso
as a side back. There's no
as a side
point.
back.
There's no
No,
point. No,
no.
yeah,
He's super skilled going forward. I like the way he cuts inside. He's a much more versatile player if he can be utilized out wide. He's truly a wing back, but if you got to play like a 4-4-2, which is very good defensive formation,
yeah,
I prefer him on that left side like that because we don't really have another guy like that. Then you should get mileage out of guys like Bengula and McKennie and
yeah.
Weah with those formations too. But yeah, I mean, you would need to bring in
Yeah,
some
it's
strikers.
I
You
guess
know,
the theme is it's still salvageable. It's getting to the point to where it's almost not, right? If a couple more bad
yeah.
transfers come in and a couple more like really poor sales go out, it's still salvageable, but we're kind of to me, we're kind of at that breaking point to where it's gonna be completely lost soon. So,
Well, I think you're at a point where you do need to take a step back before you can take steps forward because it's been so June Lee was so unhinged this past summer that you have to get rid of the garbage you brought in. I mean, you do. And I hate to say it's like garbage, but it's true. Like we have a ton of fucking money tied up in these people,
no, I
and
get
that
you. I
aren't
mean, they
performing.
have delivered garbage performances. I mean, it
Yeah,
is what it is. I mean, it's not,
you got to
what
take
it
out the
is.
trash. You do, and it's just like got to get those guys out, and you got to start. The guys who have earned it need to be the pieces that you start the build with. And maybe they're not good enough to go all the way, but this is where you got to start the build with. And you got to bring in that, the surround them with Italians and bring in, man, if you could snag just one or two world class players that are, world class foreign players, that's
Ideally,
exactly what you
somebody
need.
with experience because Juve
Yeah,
needs to me right now. Juve needs a little bit of experience right now, like true
absolutely.
experience. They have no. And we see all the time they have no class. So I think you need to make at least one to
We have
two
no class. Yeah.
signings on to be on that field. Have some class.
I mean, a guy like Dimala, the reason and who knows if he would come back, I don't know how pissed he is. I doubt. I think he'd come back in his second if you
I think
presented it correctly.
if yeah,
Like
there's always a way,
that's a
man.
guy you
There's
build around.
always a way.
That's a build around piece. Who do we get the ball to? Paulo. Where's Paulo? Get them the ball.
Well, you said right.
Get him the
You've
ball.
got a guy who has a ton of talent who can play behind him and learn from it. I think Moretti's a
Yeah,
super talented guy, and he does
I like
play
Brady.
attacking mid. And that's kind of a perfect spot for him right now. That's a
Mhm.
good person to bring in when Dybala can't play, or you just change formation a little bit. Okay, we're not gonna play with the guy in the hole right now, and you have players for that. So I like that signing. I
Well,
mean, you definitely have to
and
rebuild
then
the core
if you have to stick with Locatelli and Turan behind him, that's okay to have that lack of creativity behind him
as long as
because you
your
have
defense is
Dybala out
stout,
there. Yeah. Well, that helps your defense. But yeah, I mean, I think
especially if you run a three
going
man
back
D though.
to
Yeah, you're gonna be fine.
exactly. You got your 3-man defense back. You got Rugani, Bremer, and Gatti. You got like a young guy like Vidi. I think Scalvini would be too expensive, but I'd love to have him there.
That'd
But
be great. Yeah, I think it'd be
he's
very
probably taking
hard to run a four
Camuzzo.
four two if you're doing. Yeah, Kamuto's a good shout too. I think it'd be hard to run a 4-4-2 if you stick with Locatelli, Thuram in the mid, and you just have two behind them. I think it's not maybe the best, but it's
Yeah, I think it's
serviceable. But
yeah.
it's not the best.
Yeah. It's
I don't
it,
like the middle of that
it's
team.
no, I don't I mean it's definitely stout, but there's just zero creativity there. There's zero possession.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
Um
It's just not
yeah.
ideal. That's all right. I mean, it's better
Yeah.
than what they got now.
No, it is. And I see you still got guys like McKennie. I just think that's the way we gotta do things and we gotta find we gotta find a focal point, you know. It's you can't just throw big money at guys who've had one or two good seasons that haven't done it at a big top
No,
level,
you're gonna
like
get burned more often than you won't, and that's usually what
yeah,
we see. You see it all the time. I mean,
yeah.
and yeah,
Like
I'll see this. Or actually, you're about to say something. What's that?
well,
What's up?
for example, like the Araujo link we had in January that ended up
Yeah,
being just him using us for getting more money. But like even though he's injury prone, you know what you're getting with Araujo. He's played at a high level. He's played in big games. He's played, under the
He would
lights.
have been a good sign.
He has proven. You know what he's going to bring to the table. He's not going to choke on a team like Juve because he's on a team like Barcelona. He's not. He can handle the pressure.
He can handle the weight. Yep.
That's a proven entity. So yes, he is injury prone, and yes, he was 50 million or whatever. But that was a risk that I would take you're taking a risk on an injury guy, because that's the first good player we've ever been linked with since Juventus been here.
Right. It's
besides
like you
Calafiore,
take his experience versus a guy like Luis who would be the same price. It's really not even close.
Yeah, Luis. I mean, what has he done? I mean, he had a great season in the APL. Okay, a lot of people did. Stop it. Like it's a wide open league. That's a major assumption. So I would, you got to find guys like that.
Right, and like Coop comes from Atalanta, who, I mean, man, you can't even begin to list the amount of people who have been sold by Atalanta and turned out to be flops. There's been a couple of great successes, but most end up flopping. But
yeah, especially in that attacking like midfield role, that's a very dangerous position. I mean, look how good Zaniolo's playing, baby.
Yeah, right, he's gonna go somewhere else and have a stinker too.
I love Zaniolo.
So I'll do this. I'll end with one final thing. Something kind of maybe catch you off guard here a little bit.
Nice.
And then we'll close it out since we're going good length.
Yeah.
You already know a lot of the links and the signings that Juve has bringing in January. If there's one more piece you can bring in January, it has to be semi-realistic. It can't be like a pipe dream. It has to be semi-realistic. Who is one more semi-realistic piece you would bring in right now in January to Juve?
Semi-realistic that I would bring in right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's possible.
Yeah. I don't know how
like
realistic.
You can't go get Rovella, right? Because he's not
or like
now.
Tonali would be a great pickup that I would want.
And he's not leaving it in winter either, but he might leave in summer. So yeah, semi-realistic, which is a very hard. That's why I ask you. It's a hard thing to.
January is not the time that you bring major pieces into your team.
I agree.
January is a time that where teams that have screwed up try to fix it, and it's always a desperate time.
You try to strengthen your depth, or you try to add, help out the team with just more structure. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, January is a good time to pick up guys like look what Napoli's doing. Looking at guys like Luis Hassa and like Billing, on a loan with an option to buy because they need a little more depth. Like those are guys you should be getting. Bringing in like premier guys right now, I think is very dangerous. What I would do right now is I would do exactly this. I wouldn't can Danilo. We need a side back. Danilo's our side back. I would recall Rugani from loan. I would start inquiring about Lorenzo Luca just to bring him in as an option, but we already got Colomuani. We're renting him, so I wouldn't do that anymore. Yeah, that's fine. I would have rather brought in a guy like Luca that can do a little bit. Right, but
you could start conversations maybe for summer with that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to send Vlahovic any signals right now that he's out, because he's totally freaking out now. I mean, there's no way, because if Colo works out, even though they're going to jack the price up, we're probably going to play like way more than we should, blah, blah, blah. But that's what I would do. I would bring Rugani back.
Would you do anything for the midfield?
No, I think we have too many players. I would try to get rid of some. I wouldn't get rid of Fagioli. What I would be running right now is I would be running Fagioli Thuram. That would be my midfield. I would do that. And I would bring Locatelli in to lock things down. That's how I would do it. I might do 4-3-3.
Yeah, I was gonna say you wouldn't run all three at the same time.
No, you know what? I keep thinking like I'm Mota. I wouldn't be Mota. I'd be running a different formation for sure, or 3-4-3 or something like that. But yeah, I would. I'd at least start with a 4-3-3.
Yeah, I mean, the cool thing is McKennie could even play there too. He can play everywhere on the field. So
I would be definitely playing more
Swiss Army knife.
Luis. Yeah. Oh, I would. Yeah, McKennie's.
Yeah, I mean, if you surrounded Luis with a couple guys, like you put him like a 3-man mid, I think you're gonna ease him into the team a little better. And he actually does have some talent, so maybe giving him a string of games with some good support next to him, like you play him with Locatelli, with Thuram, and you have we got a stout midfield right now. Why not?
He's at least has an option to. He has potential to at least be useful.
Sure.
Miners, I think is. I'm never a big.
I haven't seen a single game of Coop Miners, and I thought he was good last season. But like Luis, you can see there's talent there. There's vision there. There's something there. Coop, I mean, I'm quite shocked at how rough he's been. So yeah, I agree. You could do that with Luis. You could. Yeah, I would definitely be playing Fagioli as the primary focal point for picking up the ball from the defense. I would not be doing that with Locatelli. I would let him. Locatelli, obviously when he'd be playing deep and clearing balls, he'd be more of like a true destroyer.
But I'd say, I want the ball to get to Fagioli, and I want him to distribute. And then, yeah, you can have McKennie there making those runs, those bombs from midfield. You could have Thuram out there.
You could definitely play a three-man
You
midfield. You got
have
enough players.
options.
You got
Yeah,
Fagioli,
yeah,
Luis,
yeah. You have
Locatelli,
options with your midfielders if
McKennie,
you do it like that.
Thuram.
Yeah,
You got plenty of pieces in midfield already.
yeah. I don't like if it has to be a 4-2-3-1. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind that I'm playing Yildiz in the hole. Yildiz is my attacking midfielder, no matter what. Conceição on the right, Gonzalez on the left, and or freaking McKennie on the left. He's been one of our best
You
players.
got options there too. I mean,
Yeah,
and for subs,
yeah.
you can put
Rotate Gonzalez and
Mangula there,
Conceição.
Wea. I mean, you have
I
good
just
subs
don't
out there
like it.
too.
I just don't like this. I don't like this setup
I
at
don't
all.
think
I
the
think
four
it's a
two three
bad
one
team.
fits Juve's team very much, but that's just
I don't
me.
like that setup at all. No,
Yeah.
but no, that's what I would do. I wouldn't spend any money. We owe way too much right now. We owe 80 million. I wouldn't want to put us in a hole. There's no guarantee we're going to make Champions League spots. Milan's coming in strong from behind. So is Bologna. Those are two teams that are. So Milan is more talented than us, and Bologna is more well built. So those are two major problems we have. Fiorentina's fallen off the map, but they did have a good start to the season. If they catch on
If they
again,
catch on again, then hey, they could go on another
yeah,
run. Yeah.
they're still ahead of us in the table. Lazio, same thing with Fiorentina. The other teams the top three are not catchable. So we have option between finishing fourth or eighth right now. So my opinion is if we're we should have had enough talent here with 250 million spent to make fourth. So I'm going to say stop spending the damn money. You got your loan in Kolo Muani, great. Let's return Rugani, keep Danilo till the end of the season, and let's just put it together.
Yeah.
Let's just
go to work. You got one mission: qualify top four, get in Champions League.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Cool.
So no, I wouldn't bring in anybody right now because I don't think the players that I would want to get, the quality I would want to get, are available. And if they are, you're going to spend way too much damn money.
All right. Well, that is it. It was a deep dive into Juve this time. We'll do one more of these with Milan since, Ant's a Juve guy and I'm a Milan guy. That's it for today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching, whoever is here with us today. And as always, Forza Calcio. Ciao.
Yep. Ciao.